You're listening to the Iterators of the Imperium.
Hello, and welcome back to Iterators of the Imperium Season 4. As you can see, Mez is still away, moving house and whatnot, or wherever the hell he's doing. He might actually just be on holiday at this point. I really am keeping up to date with it. All I know is he's not here. So, we are going to continue our friendly little chats about whatever we see fit. We have a bit more of a structured kind of idea this time. Since last time was kind of just a random chat about whatever came up. So we've got a few kind of topics to discuss this time. So it seemed like we were wanting to discuss chapter masters first. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, before we get into the bulk of that, I actually had a little question for you. I was just curious, because we're specifically wanting to talk about the kind of current day chapter masters, I guess.
Yes.
I was wondering, of all the chapter masters there have ever been, so, you know, anyone taking over after a Primarch, who do you think is your favorite?
Whew.
Big question.
Well, there. Like my first thoughts are which are the most prominent right now in my mind. So of course, instant names that are instantly popping up are Dante of the Blood Angels.
Yeah.
It's Sigismund of the Imperial Fists. It's Rogue Grimnar of the Space Wolves. And actually also of the Space Wolf, it's how is he pronounced or called? Bjorn?
Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just let me think. I think also Tyros Bloodwake, is he called? Of the Caradons, and Assyrian Moloch of the Minotaurs are also candidates for it.
I wouldn't call Moloch the best, or one of the good ones, but he's definitely cool. He's also an evil bastard, but he's cool.
Well, good. It's of course not to discuss, but best kinda. But
Yeah.
then again, it all comes down to what are the definitions or qualities which you could connect to regarding who is best. It's always,
what criteria are we judging by here?
Exactly. So, like combat-wise, or intelligence-wise, or like social skills-wise.
I don't even know where to start with social skills. Jesus.
Well, there you could put the like Ultramarines into it. Like
I don't think Marnius Calgar has much in the way of social skills.
Well, yeah, but more so than Assyrian Moloch.
Fair point. Yeah, I suppose you've got to keep in mind the sheer lack of social skills right across the board.
I think I would go with Dante, because like to this point, I think how old is he right now? Is he like
1,100 or something like that?
1,500 years?
No, I think he's past the 1,100. I think he's past 1,100 years now.
Yeah.
Which is quite insane. He is definitely the oldest living chapter master.
Yes, that is true. Of course, you could argue a little bit because of Bjorn the Fell-Handed, but he's not a chapter master anymore.
No.
He was a former chapter master, and also like he's a dreadnought. So
I'm also relatively sure he's dead now.
No.
Yeah, I think he died.
Are we talking about this? Are we talking about the same one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he like gives his life to take out Magnus.
At what point?
I think it's War of the Fang. Or so, I think it's
no. In War of the Fang, it's like what is it? The 37th or 34th?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I think it's the 32nd actually, the second millennium or something like that. And there he battles like also one of the. So in War of the Fangs, Magnus is invading Fenris to take revenge on it. To make a clean cut for himself. Actually, I think he does it. He isn't that much into the revenge thing, but he thinks his sons, so his former Thousand Sons, the former loyal former Thousand Sons, they have to make a clean cut and thus invade Fenris, which is I think the only it was the first successful time of invading Fenris and the Fang. I think the second one is actually also done by Magnus and his Thousand Sons, but that is
yeah, they attack a few times, because the second time is a Njal that basically fends them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the first time, like Magnus battled with one of the
it's the Grey Wolf. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, the Grey Wolf, which is one of the Jarls. He battles with
the one no one likes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bjorn gets
he's
him
kind of an outsider. And also with the Chapter Master, the current Great Wolf then, and also with Bjorn. And
oh yes, because the whole point of the War of the Fang is to stop them curing the Wolfen curse, isn't it?
At least it is for Magnus to some extent, yes.
No, Bjorn definitely survives that, you're right, because he also goes back to Fenris in that back to Prospero in that Return to Prospero one, where they find the rest of the Lost Company.
And he is present when Gilliman visits Fenris in during the Indomitus Crusade to council with Logan Grimnar.
So I don't know where it got in my head that he died. Maybe he almost died.
I mean, it's 40K. It's not that surprising.
Everyone almost dies.
Yeah. But I would stay with Dante because of his deeds, and he's like badass. And I also like the approach which Guy Haley did in his supposed trilogy with Dante, Devastation of Baal, and Darkness in the Blood, because we get to see the facade or his true self behind this glorious figure of Dante, because he himself says that anytime someone approaches Dante, he sees not Dante as a person, but his
persona.
Yes, exactly, and he's always connected to the death image of the Sanguine mask helm, which he wears all the time. But nobody actually sees the face behind that mask, because he's so old that one can actually see that a Space Marine ages, which is something one doesn't want to see, because that destroys that image of these superhuman beings, the protectors of humanity, the angels of death. And Dante is so old that he has grown thin, that he has his once golden hair has gone white, and he is so his cheeks are sunken in, and he looks his age.
It's kind of like that idea of make God bleed and people will stop believing in him. Like, if they see the weakness, then they won't, people won't, respect it, basically. They won't fear it.
Yeah, and he's, for all the time, he's also that tired, and he punishes himself so by not drinking blood. So the first time he drinks blood, like, for 100 or 200 years, which is something the Blood Angels, like, they do not have to do it, but it also deprives them of their combat prowess if they do not drink blood regular, because their instincts become slower, and also the thirst for blood rises the more you go against it. And Dante has sworn to himself to not ever do it again, because he do not want to be connected to that kind of grave image which is connected to it. And he does it during the Devastation of Baal, because his loyal chapter serf, his personal chapter serf, sacrifices his life, so that Dante can bleed from his blood and do not have an excuse for not doing so, because already his life would be wasted. And we can see that he's really torn between in himself for doing it. but he actually needed that kind of that kind of power to best the High Fleet during the devastation of Baal, and which I'm actually also kind of happy because during the trilogy and in the last book, Darkness and the Blood, he isn't really sure to cross the Rubicon to be to get Primaris, but
Like, kind of just wants it to be over at that point, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He just wants to die because he has done so much during his life, and
he's lived too long.
Yeah, and he do not want to have that burden anymore.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic because at the end of Devastation of Baal, Gilliman promotes him to being the Lord Commander of the whole Imperium Nihilus.
Yeah. Warden of Imperium Nihilus.
Yeah, which is an even greater burden instead of leading the famous Blood Angels chapter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of heavy. But during the Arcs of Omen campaign, he has finally crossed the Rubicon. So he's now Primaris. He has convinced himself to do it, and that's nice.
Yeah.
And I actually think that because it's Games Workshop still, so any famous Warhammer 40K, any living Warhammer 40K Space Marine is going to be Primaris to some extent in the future. So I've not heard or seen a miniature of like a Rogan Grimlock, for example, but I'm sure he also is going to cross the
just a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Personally, my only issue with Dante, because I love Dante as a character, my only issue with him is that he definitely has the worst name of all the chapter masters. And not necessarily Dante, because obviously he's named after like the old poet that wrote the Divine Comedy and all that, which is a great name, but that's not his real name. His real name is Lewis, and that is a terrible name for a Space Marine.
Yeah, it's soft, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Like Dante is his angelic name, but Louis is his birth name.
Yeah. Although interestingly, Blood Angels are not typically named after angels. Dark Angels are.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Azrael and my god. What are some other ones?
Guess any angel name, man, you'll be right.
You can just add an AEL at the end of a name and you pretty much have a Dark Angel's name.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah. Azrael is one of these characters that I've heard mentioned a million times in different books, and I've never bothered to read about him personally. So I just know nothing about this guy.
Yeah,
he turns up everywhere.
I knew a little bit of Azrael because I've read at least one book where he's featured, like Pandarax, which is about the Grey Knights, the Dark Angels, and the what is the faction called or pronounced? Katachans?
Katachan, yeah.
Yeah, Katachan. And it's great, by the way.
I do like my Katachans.
Yes, I like them because of the book. Because they kick ass.
I like them because they're all just based off Rambo.
Yeah.
They're all nuts and I love it.
Yeah. And also I've read about him during the Arcs of Omen campaign, and the biggest disadvantage or point of dislike for me is because, which is connected to the whole chapter of the Dark Angels, their secrecy. They are so mistrusting towards any other faction, Imperial faction or otherwise. That is kind of unnerving because they always pursue the secret agenda to eradicate any hints that they have become traitor to some extent during the Horus Heresy. That defines their whole chapter.
Yeah. They've just
their whole
became
identity.
shrouded in secrecy to try and defend themselves from a threat that isn't really there.
I really love
It's paranoia, really, more than anything.
Yeah, and I really love the 30K Dark Angels because they have a different kind of secrecy, because they have to do the deeds that not even the Space Wolves can do at this point of time, because they are like the Space Wolves are like the executioners of the Emperor during the Horus Heresy or the Great Crusade era, and the Dark Angels are like the secret weapon, or not like the secret weapon, but they have to do something which other legions cannot even imagine to do.
I feel like a good way to think about it is that back in like 30K, the Dark Angels filled the role that the Grey Knights fill nowadays, which is basically just anything that no one else knows how to handle, we'll just send these guys at it and they'll figure it out.
Yeah, plus the role of the Death Watch, I would say. Or rather, more the role of the Death Watch than the Grey Knights, because the Grey Knights are experts in battling chaos, which isn't that relevant during the Great Crusade.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, so probably more Death Watch.
I would also struggle with calling it a secret weapon, because that is the Alpha Legion.
Well, yeah, but I don't think the Alpha Legion even know that. It's an issue with Alpha Legion. I don't think they even know what they're doing.
Have you read the Alpharius book?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. That is great in also getting to know the role of the Alpha Legion during the Great Crusade.
Okay, right. I'll need to get around to it at some point.
But I would say let's get back to the question and ask it yourself. What is your current favorite chapter master of 40K?
If we're talking modern day, unfortunately, I think I share your opinion of it being Dante.
Oh, you are right. That wasn't your original question. Like, your question wasn't
current. Maybe it was overall
to the current timeline. Yeah, it was overall. Like, what is your overall?
Overall, it is Maximus Thane.
Okay, yeah.
Maximus Thane is one of the coolest guys that have ever existed in 40K. So, for anyone that doesn't know, back during the War of the Beast, obviously the last wall protocol was enacted and all the Imperial Fist chapters got back together to defend Terra. And there is a point where the current leader of the Imperial Fist ends up the last Imperial Fist standing, and when he dies, he passes on the title to Maximus Thane, who is the chapter master of one of the other current successor chapters. So he becomes the chapter master of the Imperial Fist and the last living Imperial Fist. And then he forces all the other chapters to give him part of their chapter to rebuild the original Legion. I'm pretty sure because he gets some from the Black Templars, he has to like censor the captain, because he starts making like the 8th Company all Black Templar-y. He's like, no, we don't do that here. You're not a Black Templar anymore. No more being religious. And then he goes and murders the Beast, then gets promoted to a Lord Commander of the Imperium, which is an incredible title for a Space Marine to hold, being that it's only been Primarchs otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it has only been... I think, isn't Dawn also for the during the time of the Horus Heresy? Not the Great Crusade, but the Horus Heresy. Isn't he also, like, Lord Commander of the Imperium?
He was the first Lord Commander. After
because
the Emperor abdicated his throne for the whole fighting Horus thing.
He's like the loyal War Master.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Or actually, he was more of like the opposite of Horus in a way.
Of course.
Yeah. They like stood as two polar opposites to each other. But I guess it was more than anything because he ran the defenses for the palace. Yeah. So he ended up being the Lord Commander, and then he shortly after passes the title on to Gilliman because Dorn knows, or everyone knows Gilliman's going to be better at organizing the rebuilding effort. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Dorn's like, look, I'll build whatever you want, but like, I shouldn't be giving the orders on what we're building when. That's not going to go well. We'll end up with a big wall around Terra and nothing else.
I think that's a pretty good example for not only a chapter master but someone who is also earned his right to be someone's favorite.
Yeah,
Because Lord Commander it's it's like we've got two Lord Commanders, haven't we? Like we have Lord Commander Maximus Sane, and we've also got like Lord Commander of Imperium Nihilus, Dante.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, fair point. You also, interestingly, Thane is also the guy who killed Van Gorick, the old leader of the Assassinorum, the one that turned vaguely evil.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the last thing that Van Gorick says to Thane to try and, like, you know, make him not murder him is, would you like to know how, oh god, what is his name? The Night Haunter. Yeah, the last thing he says to him, like to Thane, to try and stop him from killing him, is he asks him if he wants to know how Conrad Curse died. And then Thane just kills him anyway. Well, it was Van Gorick's guys that killed him.
Yeah, but like, why is it interesting for Maximus saying how Conrad Curse died?
Because no one knows. To this day, realistically, we actually don't know how Conrad Curse actually died.
But isn't it videotaped?
No, the tape shows the assassin approaching him, and then I believe the actual killing takes place off camera, or the footage corrupts or something briefly, and then you just see the assassin leaving. Basically, there is a tape that proves that the events occurred, but not that he actually was killed. So that's why people still make the kind of background joke that technically he could still be alive. But, like, there's also, I'm pretty sure Dorn's run around with one hand now and stuff like that. Like, they always do this stuff. They never actually tie off, like, a Primarch's death with a neat little bow. There's always some bullshit around it.
Yeah, like, I would be kind of sad if Dorn would actually be dead, because I would love to see him, reawaken or come back to the modern line, like Lionel Johnson or Gilliman.
Yeah.
But it stands to argue because, like, he lost his hand.
Aren't, out of curiosity, aren't Ferrus Manus's hands a relic of the Iron Hands? Like, don't they literally have his hands somewhere?
I'm not sure about that, haven't heard it.
I feel like I read that somewhere, that they just have his hands as a relic of the chapter. And I'm like, maybe they'll just give one to Dorn when he comes back. Like, oh, you need a hand? Here, have this.
I think I've heard that they have got their head. His head. But I'm not sure
I thought
about that.
Fulgrim took the head.
Yeah. Of course, but at some point, like...
they reclaimed it.
Yeah, and Horus got it.
Oh, yes, because he trades it to him as, like, a sign of respect. Like, I'm on your side now, here's my devotion. Yeah, aye. Because that's how the weapons keep getting traded around as well, isn't it?
Yeah, like the Anathema, or the weapon which first corrupted Horus.
Oh, no, there's a whole thing with the head is involved in this, like, trading process, which leads to... you know how obviously Fulgrim and Ferrus made weapons for each other, and then when they fight each other, when Fulgrim goes to recruit him, they swap, and then there's a whole process where it ends up with like where the weapons keep getting traded from person to person, and I'm sure there's a point where the head is handed over and they get one of those weapons as a thanks or something like that. It's a whole thing. I remember explaining it to Mez last season.
Yeah,
it was a very complicated process.
But also the weapon which Erebos first stole from the Kinnebrach, or which corrupted Horus. Horus gave it also to Fulgrim to at some point to also prove Fulgrim that Horus trusts Fulgrim.
Oh yes,
And
yeah, the
and
anatheme.
then Fulgrim gives it to Fabius Bile.
Yes.
And I think Erebus gets his hands onto it and breaks it apart
Probably.
to get eight daggers out of it, and then these are also divided onto the most loyal Legion commanders of the Wordbearers.
All right.
And I think then Oleanius Pierce gets his hands onto one of these.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a convoluted plot.
Yeah. And like
I'm starting to see why people get confused with these plot lines.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, do the daggers still work as an anatheme? Or do they not work anymore?
I'm not sure about it, because wasn't the whole point that they I cannot pronounce it, sorry. That the weapon is specialized for just they are like an intelligent weapon. So if you say they get configured to just kill one person, specifically
Yes.
one person. So that's the whole point why Horus gets even into this death-like state.
Yeah.
Because of otherwise any other weapon wouldn't have put him in that position, because like he's a Primarch. His whole his whole body is or genes are constructed to combat any poison and something like
Heal
that.
basically anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
But the anathema is programmed to like kill Horus. So I do not know if it can be reprogrammed to do something other than that.
I don't think it was a one-use item, although they don't really specify at any point. I thought it was one of those situations where you basically had to, like, name the person you were trying to kill, and it became able to kill that person. But I guess I just always assumed you could just change it to kill someone else. Otherwise, it's a pretty useless weapon. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise, like, it's a sword. You can only really stab with it, right? So, like, you're limited in how you can use it, and if you can only make it kill one immortal creature, what if there weren't immortal creatures? Like, that weapon's only actually useful against a Primarch. You're not just going to use it on your friend Dave, because the sword itself would kill him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, first, it's to kill Primarch is a pretty badass deed, so I would say.
But they didn't know Primarchs existed when they made the sword. So they made this sword that can kill one guy no matter what. But that's a completely worthless thing to have, because the sword can do that anyway, because they didn't know Primarchs existed at the time.
Yeah, but then again, you can also kill, like, it's still a sword, so you can kill with it otherwise, but not specifically, yes.
I just can't figure out why they bothered to make it like that in the first place.
But
so
also,
just to prove they could, I guess.
I think there is not, like, one weapon out of it. Like it's a weapon category, so the
yes, absolutely.
crafters could also make more of them.
Yes, they absolutely could. I just can't figure out why they made one in the first place, because there's nothing in the galaxy other than Primarchs who needed that for. Like, well maybe like a really big Tyranid.
Yeah,
it would be easier that way.
Or maybe like a big orc.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. But then, I feel like most people can't pronounce orc names well enough to make the sword kill it.
Hey, true.
You know, but I guess they were probably just planning ahead. They were like, look, let's just make a sword that can kill anything. Like, why? I don't know, just in case. In case we need it. It's a good thing to have lying around, I guess. I'd probably have made a gun that did it instead, though. Be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough about Maximus Sane, like, he's most prominent because of his deeds during the War of the Beasts,
Yeah.
which Ryan already explained, like enacting the last war protocol, killing the beast, becoming Lord Commander of the Imperium, something like that. But he also gets rather prominent side stories, if you want to say that, during the Siege of Terror series.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's for fans of the Imperial Fists or also of Maximus Thane. I can recommend reading the series.
Which chapter is it he is actually the chapter master of before he becomes the last Imperial Fist? Was it the Fist Exemplar?
I think so. I'm not sure about it,
I think it was.
but I think during his first appearance of the Siege of Terror in the Siege of Terror books, he's also like the successor chapter. The name of the successor chapter, where he gets the original chapter master, is also the name of his company during that time. So
Yes,
because Legion is much bigger than an actual chapter, it could work that out because like 1,000 Legionnaires are like one company, I guess, and so
I
it could
guess so.
work that like the company just gets to be the chapter
Yeah.
afterwards.
So in terms of like modern day ones, right? Because
Yeah.
that was the point is we were going to talk about modern day chapter masters, right? I want to mention one that is a bit I guess one of the ones you wouldn't really think about, right? Do you remember Faller Dark? He was
Yes.
in Devastation of Baal. So as far as the current day ones, I think that Faller Dark is one of those ones that like he was a very cool guy and
Followed. How is he called?
Faller Dark. Follordark. He was the
Chapter
chapter
mas-
master of the Angels Excelsis.
Yeah.
He was one of the ones that died during the devastation of Baal.
Yeah. Now it rings a bell.
Yeah, I don't remember him being a particularly huge part of the story because they're a fleet-based chapter, so they basically just got eaten by Tyranids while they were still in space.
But wasn't his role also to be the like a commander of the fleet based elements of the whole chapters of the blood?
I believe so. Yes.
I think his death was. I mean, of course, there were like many chapter masters and famous persons dying during that book, but I think his death was one of the ones where I would say, okay, nice guy, cool move,
Yeah.
crazy death, crazy deserving death.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you like him more
I do.
than
I
okay.
feel like he's one of those ones that like he's a little bit underrated as far as chapter masters go, but like he had a cool death and he like did his job properly. I feel like there's a bit of respect deserved there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I don't think he's one you're really meant to talk about much.
I've also one which you like. Of course I've got a list prepared where there are several chapter masters named, because we have such a great range of chapters during 40K. It's kind of crazy. I've got Carib Khan of the Red Scorpions. Ever heard of him?
I don't think so.
He's actually a Leviathan Dreadnought right now.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is also
A dreadnought
like,
chapter master. That's cool.
yeah, like this whole fact that he's a chapter master and in a dreadnought, and it's also a Leviathan Dreadnought, just makes him interesting. And he's also like a really competent leader. Of course, that goes for all chapter masters, but compared to other chapter masters, and I think during the was it the Badab War, like during the war where Huron Blackheart went heretic, and also got like 2 other Space Marine chapters with him to rule a certain area of the galaxy. I'm sorry, I'm not that detailed in this campaign, but like Caleb got Garib Khan was anointed High Commander, which is Chapter Master during that campaign, and was also here's it called. Was promoted to the position of Lord High Commander during the Badab War. Like that's a position that, like, not Lord Commander of the Imperium, but Lord High Commander. That he was the commander of all the military assets, like other Space Marine chapters, Imperial Guard factions, and so on and so on, that he's able to lead them during this war, which is kind of a statement.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and also it's
cool.
Not only is it also a Leviathan Dreadnought, but it's a relic Leviathan Dreadnought. Like it has also specific weapons for him, like I think claws. Because like the yeah.
That is quite cool. I actually didn't know there was any Dreadnought chapter masters.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
we
crazy.
Just put Bjorn back in charge of the Space Wolves then.
Yeah, I think during Bjorn's time as a Great Wolf, like the chapter master, he was also not Dreadnought.
Yeah.
But he had still his original physical Space Marine form.
Yeah, I believe that they changed him away from being chapter master after he was interred in a Dreadnought.
Yes.
But I suppose it's probably because that's a bit of older kind of storytelling, and back then they probably didn't want to have a Dreadnought chapter master. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe.
Also, it's not technically a chapter master position because they don't have chapters, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I'll say that actually. Maybe it's because they can't take part in any other, like, traditions. All of the Space Wolf traditions are around, like, eating and drinking and stuff like that, and fighting. And you couldn't exactly have the Great Wolf not able to take part, and, like, if he didn't get involved in the fighting, he'd immediately kill everyone, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. I think it in the modern 40k time, he has earned himself like this legendary position that is like equal to being a chapter master or a Great Wolf of the Space Wolves. Like he's the last remaining person to have ever seen the Great Wolf, like the original Great Wolf, like Lehman Russ alive.
Yeah.
Actually, he isn't the only one nowadays. Like Rudy Gilliman is also away, and of course Lionel Johnson also.
Yeah, this is true.
And also Belisarius Call. Like there are a few people nowadays.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, actually, that's only true that there's a very limited number if you're only thinking about loyalists. Because of the traitors, there are a bunch of them. Like, Fabius must have met most of the Primarchs, you know what I mean? So, there's probably a bunch of traitors that have met a lot of them.
Yeah, but it was also...
met all of them at some point.
Like, I mean, in modern 40k, it's crazy to see an actual Primarch alive, because, there haven't been for 10,000 years any loyal Primarchs being alive. Like, if you have seen, like, a traitor one, you are going to die within seconds. So that's not that a great statement. But having been alive during the Horus Heresy or Great Crusade era and seeing a Primarch alive was also such a big event during that time. So I think that is also a great fact. So any Space Marine to have ever come close to see a Primarch, I think it stuck into their heads.
So another chapter master I wanted to mention, actually. Do you know about the Mortifactors?
I have heard about them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're one of these chapters that are like kind of like the Minotaurs, where people are kind of like keep them at arm's length. They don't really want to be anywhere near them because they're a bit murdery.
Yeah.
Interestingly, their chapter master, Magyar, wears bone armor. His armor is artificer armor crafted out in bone.
Is it like alien bone or something? Like
I have no idea.
like
I don't think he even knows.
because like to wear bone, like to wear like bone of human origin is like to not wear any armor at all. So I
Yeah.
think when some like if a space marine wears bone armor, it has to be like crazy bone armor with a duration to be compared to a space marine armor, normal space marine
Yeah.
armor out of adamantium or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But also, wouldn't it be like a little bit heretical because exterminate the Xenos and so on to like to deal with alien stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely heretical, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you though, most things are heretical in modern 40k.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like every chapter, every random person, stuff like that, talk about things being heresy while currently performing their own form of heresy. It's pretty common, actually. It's not a well understood rule what is and is not heresy.
Well, there are some chapters which are so coherent to the Codex Extratis that they say anything else which is not legitimate to the Codex Extratis is per se heretic. You could argue.
But then the Codex Astartes isn't technically part of the Imperial Creed
Yeah,
because it's not part of the Ecclesiarchy's text. It's part of the.
it's more like a
Militarum
combat
text.
doctrine.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And
Yeah.
the majority of the Codex Astartes is like advice and rules for governing Space Marine chapters. But like the first part of it said that like rule 1, we're breaking up into chapters rather than legions. And then the rest of it was like 1,000 pages on how to like, I don't know, govern battle properly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In Gilliman's mind. So like it is mostly just combat doctrines.
As an interesting side fact, I think Gilliman is in nowadays is also creating another codex, which is about how to govern people and
All right.
like realms, something like that, which is also interesting.
That is cool,
he does,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've also like I would say I've got one last candidate. I would enter Calder Drago for the ring of being
Oh,
badass
absolutely.
chapter master. Like Calder Drago is the supreme grand master of the Grey Knights chapter. Like the supreme grand master is equal to being chapter master. Like their company masters are called grandmasters.
Yeah.
And
Well,
because
they're all
Calder-
kind of like a magical order, so Grandmaster is just the more suited title.
Yeah, and he's Supreme Grandmaster. So, what is better than a master? It's a Grandmaster. What is better than a Grandmaster? It's a Supreme Grandmaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Keep adding titles. Next
Yeah.
is the Ultra Supreme Grandmaster.
yeah. Or the Mega Supreme Grandmaster, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is he deserving to be a candidate for that vote, if you say so? Because like to be promoted to Supreme Grandmaster is already an achievement in itself, because
Yeah.
Grey Knights are already like out from all of the firstborn Space Marines. Like the Grey Knights are perhaps the most efficient combat-wise, because they combine a huge psychic potential with like the doctrines of Space Marines. And he battled I think a bunch of demon princes, also carved like his name in on the heart of Mortarion and banished him. And he's
It's a pretty
currently
cool title.
yeah, and I think was it Mortarion? No, it was. I think it was the Demon Prince MK that has cursed Kaldar Drago to be in the warp realm, like the demonic warp.
Yeah.
And so he can only enter to certain conditions, the normal martial realm, and otherwise he has to fight like in the warp against demons all the time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty badass, and he's still alive. So
Who you might know, because you seem to be pretty up to date with the Grey Knight stuff, at least compared to me. Who is the Grey Knight that carries the sword made of a demon that was born when the first human committed murder? Ah, of course, he's got a book for it.
yeah, well, like we have got Warden of the Sword.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that'll do it.
I haven't read it actually, so I just hope that I read his name into it. Garen Crow.
Ah, yes. One of the coolest like concepts of a character in 40K, I would say.
Like yeah.
Like, there are a few characters that, like, without looking into the character or the storyline at all, if you just explain the concept, there are a few of them that are really cool. And he is one of the ones that I think would be, like, top contender for that. I think, because, like, you're just playing, like, oh, he's a magical knight that wields a sword made from the demon that was born the first time any human committed murder, and it constantly whispers to him, trying to, like, draw him to their side. But that's cool as hell.
Wait, what was the fact about his sword?
The sword he carries was crafted from a demon that was born when humans first committed murder. So,
But,
you know the old biblical story of Cain and Abel?
Yeah, but I thought that that particular sword is the one that Abaddon wields.
There's a Grey Knight that has to hold that particular sword. I know that. I don't know if Abaddon's possibly acquired it at some point, but I know that there was a Grey Knight whose entire job was to carry this sword because it constantly tried to tempt anyone that had it, and no one could be trusted with it. And the Grey Knights are the only ones with, like, the willpower to avoid it. So this guy just sits, like I guess, meditating with this sword all the time.
Yeah, which is pretty hilarious.
It's pretty badass too.
Like to have got like this upsetting sword, like, yeah, come to chaos, we are the good guys.
I love the idea of a demon doing this to try and tempt you.
And each time you just have to say, shut the fuck up, I'm going to slash your kind with your own sword.
But I think that just the concept of that character is pretty cool, even if you never look into him. I would say it's on par with, what's her name? Ephrael Stern. Ephrael Stern, just as a character, like as a concept, is one of the coolest characters in 40K.
She is Battle Sister, right?
Yes, the Heretic Saint.
Yeah. She also got, I think, her own book. And,
she did, yes, it was very good.
And Crow also got, I think, not this year, but 2022, got also a new miniature, which also covers him to some great extent. So, which is also, like, upscaled to Primaris standard. So he's still, I think, all of the Grey Knights are still Firstborn Marines. I do not know
if they... I would imagine so.
Sorry, come again?
I would imagine that they are still Firstborn.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they can actually become Primaris. But I'm not sure about it.
If they couldn't become Primaris, I would assume it would only be because Call wouldn't know about them to teach them how to do it.
Like, what is their original gene seed?
It was a mix.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, they were taken in for a bunch of different chapters. They weren't originally any one in particular. because you had Garrow going around rounding up all the stragglers to lead them.
Yeah, I just thought that I'm not sure why I thought that, but that they have got kind of the Emperor's genetic material into them. But
They
maybe
may
I'm confusing
actually
things.
do, to be honest, because it was what's his face? I can't remember his name. The old man. Malkador.
Malkador.
It was Malkador that handled it all. So
Did you
there's
just say,
every
what is-
chance. Yeah.
What is his face?
What's his face? I couldn't remember his name.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Malkador that organised all of it, wasn't it? While
Yeah,
Garrow was rounding up the leaders, I guess.
Yeah, and also who decides to get to Jupiter to become the
Yeah.
Grey Knights. Before that, they were just the Knights Errant.
Yeah, so there's every chance that they actually did just craft a new type of gene seed for them based on, like, the... well, it wouldn't be based on the... I was going to say based on the Custodes, but it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any connection to the warp. I guess if the Grey Knights do have a unique gene seed, it would probably be, like, the mirror to the Custodes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like a positive mirror.
Yes, aye. Yeah. Because they're kind of like a box standard Space Marine, but with incredible psychic potential. Whereas your
Yes.
Custodes are kind of like a normal Space Marine, but with a physical turned up to 11, hang maxed out, rather than having any psychic potential. Because Custodes basically are not a psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they were paired with the
True.
Sisters of Silence, isn't it?
There aren't any psychic Custodes, aren't there? Haven't
No,
heard
there's
of
not.
them.
No, absolutely zero. They're not meant to exist. They're biologically designed to not have psychic potential.
But the gene seed of the Custodes is emperorized, isn't it? Like, what are
I
Custodes?
don't think it was based off the Emperor, but they are all individually handcrafted. So,
Yeah, but they aren't Space Marine.
no,
so-
they're not. No,
So I
I
think
don't think they actually have a gene seed.
Yeah, but
I
I
don't
think
think
that's
Custodes
crazy
do have
because like the Space Marines get to be Space Marines because of the gene seed. Like it's the most important thing in to get a Space Marine or to get the transformation to be a Space Marine is the implementation of the gene seed, because it enables all the other genetic material to change into like Space Marine portions. And so I think it's also really interesting that Custodes may or may not have gene seed, but if they have not, then they have to they are like supreme to Space Marines. So the whole point of the Custodes is that they are individually crafted. Like if a Space Marine is a mass crafted product, a Custodes is like a individually master crafted product against them.
That's
So
the
it's
point.
like-
That's
like
what it's
co-
supposed to be.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Space Marines were designed to be like a template system where you could
Yes.
pump out thousands of them in a matter of days, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You could just produce so many of them, and they'd all be this kind of like cookie cutter template, same thing over and over again. But the Custodes are all designed to be entirely unique. But
At
even
least
then, they
in-
don't have. They're designed to not have psychic potential because. I guess nowadays the reason that that's a good thing is that it makes it harder for the warp to influence them. But I think
course,
originally
yeah.
it was just because it was more useful to have them not be magical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have that whole thing where like the physical is their entire thing. Because their reaction speeds drop even slightly, they are immediately stripped of their armor and shot out into the galaxy.
Yes. Okay, Ryan, do you have also one last candidate, or do we want to jump to another question?
Honestly, I think we've there aren't a lot of the modern day ones that I know a lot about, right? So
Yeah.
there is was it Thracian, the guy who led the Sice of the Emperor?
Yes.
Big fan of that guy. He was a cool dude, but
Yeah.
But even then, I don't have like a huge story to tell about him. I just have a few modern day ones that like there aren't a lot to say about them unless you're talking about like the main line ones, like
Space Wolves, Fists,
Space
so
Wolves,
on and so on.
aye, that kind of thing. And I don't know a lot about many of them other than Grimnar and Dante. You know,
Yeah.
so if you want to talk about weird ones, what was it? Beor. Oh, I can't remember his last name. Beor was the chapter master of the, or he's the only chapter master that's ever actually been a chapter master of the Space Wolves. Interestingly,
Of the Space Wolves.
yeah. Because the Space Wolves only ever made one successor chapter, the Wolf Brothers, and because they were a successor chapter, they actually had the rank of chapter master, and it was this guy Beor. But obviously, we all know how the Wolf Brothers went. Just led to them killing half of the Space Wolves.
I think that's. I mean, you already covered the success of the Wolf Brothers in one of your episodes, but I think it's kind of interesting that they are some of them popping up like every century or millennium so far.
Yeah.
Like they are like lonely survivors or remnants of it, and then again there are whole portions of them during like the War of the Fang.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how that concept is working out. Also, like with the 13th Great Company, like we have got the whole portion which is rediscovered during the events which you also covered when
The Return to Prospero.
Yeah, when Stormcaller visits Prospero, but we have also got like these Wolfen which are found during random times. Like we've got a whole story which is called the Hunt for the Wolfen, which also was, I think, a ploy of Magnus, because then it ends during the second siege of the Fenris system, where Magnus is also. Also, I'm just. It reminds me to another interesting little subtopic, which is which we got with Castellan Crow wielding the demonic sword. Like Logan Grimnar has also a demonic weapon. He's got his demonic axe, like which was from a Cornite Berserker or something like that, or a Cornite champion. So, which is why he can battle Magnus and banish it with it, because it's like the opposite warp identity to Siege.
Yeah.
Like Korn is like the opposite of Siege, so they do not get along, and so Grimnar can battle Magnus with it. So I think it's interesting that they both wield weapons which are like the complete opposite of what a Space Marine should do.
Yeah, this is very true. But to be fair, you just need the most effective weapon possible. And I feel like they've found that.
Yeah.
So, of the rest of our questions that we had planned for today, is there a particular one you want to go to next? Is there one that's really taking your fancy?
I think I like underrated, overrated characters, but I have not. Yeah, but I have not prepared that much for it, so I would rather more jump to current events plus predictions, because that is something which I can talk more about it.
Ah, okay. Because I have one thing prepared for the over or underrated characters, and I feel like it's more of a joke than a real discussion point, but I'm excited to get to it.
Okay, maybe we can just talk about it, and if there should be the opportunity for like another talk between us, I can prepare another one for that time.
Well, I can just mention this bit quickly, because it's not a big thing. It's not a real discussion point, and then we can go back to this topic at another time.
Yeah,
when
sure.
You know, really looked into it properly. I feel that oh god, what is his name? Lorgar is an overrated character. And
overrated?
Yes, everyone hates him, and I still feel like we overrate him. I feel like we should all hate him more than we do. He is a truly terrible character.
I thought that it would be like Lorgar is underrated because so many hate him, but he has got like perks and points which he would now present to us. But I would not have thought that you say, okay, Lorgar is like a bitch character, so we should even hate him more.
Yeah, I feel like he's overrated, even though everyone hates him. We need to hate this guy even more.
I mean, have you read the first heretic of the
Yes.
Horus Heresy? Because like that is the book which is wholly dedicated to Lorgar and why he turns traitor, why like it's the whole origin point to why the Horus Heresy is going to take place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's just such a little bitch. He's such a terrible, useless character. He manages to enslave a better Primarch than him and try to turn it on Horus, and still, at the end of that whole situation, he's so pathetic that Horus won't even kill him. He just sends him away. So you're not even worth murdering. Get out. He's such a pathetic character.
Yeah, you're referring to another one of the Horus Heresy books, right?
Yeah.
Was it called? Slaves of Darkness.
Yeah. And even now, all he's doing is run around in the warp, hiding from
Ghost
Oh,
Gods.
what's his- yeah, just hiding from Corvus Corax. Like, you're hiding from like an 11-foot tall emo. What are you doing?
But to be honest, like Corvus Corax is like the equivalent to a loyalist demon Primarch. So
Yeah, he's a total beast, but like
yeah, so I would
still.
also be scared of him. And he has faced Corvus Corax before during the East One campaign, during the Drop Site Massacre, and there he already got slapped by Corax and would have been murdered if not for the support of Conrad Curse. So maybe there is a certain
I get why he's
mindset.
scared. I'm just saying, die like a man. Like,
Yeah,
he's not
I mean, that's
doing
not
it. He's never going to be a useful character. I just
that's
want him
not
to
Lorgar's thing to
die.
do. Yeah.
Just make it cool at least, you know? Take a planet with you or something, but just go over Dublin, man.
But they cannot die, can they? Like only if Gilliman kills them with the Emperor's sword.
I mean, there are other ways that you could kill them. Because realistically, the demon Primarchs are kind of middle ground, right? They're like half demon, half mortal.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you kill the physical body, you end up with this Magnus situation where they are only a demon now, and they can only form out of the warp for a brief period of time. At which point you could only kill them with the Emperor's sword or something, I guess, equivalent to it. But like,
Yes.
even then, if you kill their physical body, I mean, Lorgar's not been out in the warp in like 10,000 years because he's afraid of everything. So you probably just never see him again if you do that.
Yeah, that maybe that's also a point which you can do to predictions or anti-predictions, because I think also Lorgar is. It would be like a big surprise if Games Workshop or Black Library to decide that Lorgar gets an active role once again into Modern Warhammer 40K, because
I can't imagine what it would be.
Yeah, nobody would suspect it, because we
No,
already
that's
know what you said. Like Lorgar has been kind of being active since the Horus Heresy. Like he has been on his demon planet, and I think he is in meditation to get the
In his tower.
Yeah, exactly, to get the whole idea of the plan of chaos to succeed or something like that, which maybe you could say Abaddon is already doing in active terms, like with the Black Crusades and Noctis Eterna, Great Rift, so on and so on. Lorgar hasn't done anything.
Lorgar has done nothing the entire time.
Yeah.
Erebus did more than Lorgar did, and
And
Yeah,
Corferin.
realistically, if Lorgar never existed, nothing would have changed.
We would not have had an Horus Heresy, yes. It would
No,
have been
we
better.
absolutely would have. Erebus would have just figured it out. Erebus was such an asshole. He would have done that. He would have stabbed Horus regardless. It was just a matter of time.
I think Erebus is the most static character in whole Warhammer 40K.
Nah, see, I agree with you. That seems to be the general consensus. But personally, I don't think that should be the case. Because at least Erebus does stuff, right? He's a horrible person with terrible, like, reasoning for doing stuff, but at least he does stuff that matters. Lorgar never does anything. You just waste your time when you're reading books, because you have to read about what Lorgar is doing. And none of it ever matters.
Yeah.
All of his plans fail, and it's just a waste of time.
But for all that, I think it's great that we got Aaron Dembski-Bowden to write both of important books. Like, we have also got the Primarch book of him. I haven't read it, but I think it's about his background or so. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, not his childhood growing up and getting slapped around by his dad.
Yeah. Which is Corferin, which is also that's another topic. But it's nice because Aaron Dembski-Bowden has his way of with the words. So both The First Heretic and also Betrayer were great books to at least get to know him and to also understand him in a way.
Yeah,
because like before he gets. Or after the raising of Monarchia takes place, we get to experience his talk to Magnus, where he complains about like why he has to be a military leader. Like, all of the Primarchs should act as generals and like war masters, war leaders, warmongers, something like that, to increase or to to make the Imperium greater, bigger, expand. Thanks you. And Lorgar is like, why do I have to do it? Why should I have like these qualities when I've certainly proven myself to be like more of a sophisticated leader, to raise monuments, to preach, to make the people believe into the idea of the Imperium, or per se to the Emperor to be a god. So why do I have to be like anybody else? And I think it's a fair point, but one might argue that he's bitching around.
Oh, he absolutely is. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like maybe we should move to one of the other questions, because that was all I really had to say about overrated characters. Just how much I hate Lorgar.
Yeah.
Although, saying that, is it Magnus that does the big speech about how like all of the other Primarchs got to like keep their people and stuff like that? Oh no, it's Angron, isn't it, who does the speech about how, Lorgar gets to keep, like, Corferin and stuff like that, but all of his people had to die. Isn't it Angron that does the speech about that?
Yeah, but I think Angron does that to Gilliman and compares himself to Gilliman and says that Gilliman is like what's it called? Like a spoiled child, because like from all of the Primarchs, like Angron is the only one who hasn't gotten like companions, hasn't gotten foster fathers, like he hasn't gotten people which he can be trusted around, which he can be familiar with. Like any other Primarch got that. Like Gilliman got his foster father, got people which he knew of, had a secure home. Angron like was in a pit, in a gladiator pit. He has to eat shit, and also he just should die, and he could not conquer the planet. He was a failure at least for his brothers at the time when he was found, like because he had not succeeded in any other positive way which any other of his brothers did, of his brethren.
That's true.
Yeah, and so he said to Gilliman. Yeah, it's great because in Betrayer you can see why the World Eaters and Angron are also a great legion, and why they have turned traitor, but they also did not have that much option otherwise.
Yeah.
Because like the Imperium does not care for the World Eaters or Angron.
What is the quote when Gilliman is talking to Angron and he's like, you too, brother? I've heard Lorgar's heresies, but what reason could you possibly have for turning like this? And Angron's only response is, they let me dream. That is pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it really shows though that is it. It's that I guess none of them really think about the reality of what their brothers like Angron went through or what they're going through. They just kind of see the anger at the surface of it.
I think it was
even that they can't control.
Exactly, and I think it was also a great point of Angron that why the Emperor saved him, but not any of his companions.
Yeah.
It was a great point because like the Emperor doesn't care for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could also have like, which is also a pain of Angron. He could have saved him, his companions, or he could have just supported his cause. Wouldn't have been a problem. Like it's like his whole world. It's not interesting for the whole Imperium, which was the outcome for one planet or for one society, and he would have won Angron's trust, maybe even his love, but he didn't do it. Yeah.
No. So. Yeah, I think we should probably move on to like one of the other questions since we actually have stuff to talk about for them. So you want to do the current events and predictions kind of topic,
I would also maybe limit it because I think it would we would invest too much time if we would talk like about all the events which happened during the Erandomitis and so on and so on.
Well, I think that we can cut it down quite a bit already, because in the last episode we talked about a lot of the stuff that's went on recently with like we talked about the Lion coming back, we talked about the Gene Father events and kind of stuff around that, things like that. So we have talked about a fair bit of it already.
True, yeah. Because like I'm currently on the Lexicanum website, which is kind of a Wikipedia to Warhammer 40K. Like the other one is Warhammer 40K fandom, which is also great. Like these are the two primary sources when I'm going to research some things and not reading like the source material, like the books and so on. And it's listed like the notable events of the Age of the Dark Imperium or the Era Indomitus. I'm not sure if there is a distinction between these two time periods or if it's like combined.
No idea.
Based
on the calendar system in 40k, they could be 1,000 years apart and no one would know.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, we've got the Noctis Eterna, we have got the 13th Black Crusade, the fall or the devastation or the fall of Cadia, we have got the reawakening of Brubuti Gilliman, his Terran Crusade, where he tries to reach Terra for the first time to meet the Emperor, where he gets the Emperor's sword, and then we have got, of course, the Indomitus Crusade, which he launches to make at least Imperium Sanctus safe again. And then we reach the point where he crosses Vigilus to enter the Imperium Nihilus to also make that region safe again. And we've got the supporting act of Belisarius Call during the Erandomitus, where Ball tries to close the Great Rift again, and yeah, we've got the devastation of Baal, we've got the Third War of Armageddon, which is still ongoing to this point of time. So Plague Wars, you get what I mean. So there are like I said, there are many events which we can cover. There are also certain events which I do not have any knowledge about, because like these were only in campaign books, and I'm not someone who pays for certain campaign books. Like we've got the Nakmund Rift War, we've got the Caradon campaign, Psychic Awakening, War of the Beasts. So these are all covered in campaign books, and I haven't read or listened to a summary of them. So I cannot even talk about these in detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So is there a particular kind of modern day event that really takes your interest?
Like, of course,
there's two that really pique my interest.
Then maybe we should go to your ones. I think it's easier.
Okay. So there's two events that really pique my interest that are kind of a little bit away from that kind of like main storyline that you get, like following Gilliman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of them is it's Ephrael Stern, the heretic saint, right? Because she's been around for a while, and her whole thing is that she's a battle sister who is also a psyker. So she's been treated as this like heretic for ages. So the orders that she's part of hate her. They treat her as a criminal, and after the Great Rift opens, the story that takes place is after the Great Rift is opened. It's I believe it's a Mechanicus Magos who's on Nihilist's side starts noticing that there's like a line of planets along the edge of the Great Rift are being like purified.
Yes.
So he goes to like the next planet in the chain to try and find out what's going on, and meets Ephrael Stern, who is there trying to like cleanse the planet of all these demons and stuff. And she ends up teaming up with a group of her order that are there. But unfortunately, her reputation precedes her, and everyone hates her because she's a heretic, because she's magic. And through the course of the story, eventually, for the first time since gaining her powers, she is accepted as one of her order, because I believe it's this Mechanicus Magos that's there, like, kind of starts trying to, like, influence the order of Battle Sisters, so that rather than thinking of her as a heretic, thinking of her as a saint. And that's how she ends up being this, like, heretic saint, rather than, was it the Demoniers, or whatever they call it, when they think she's just a demon and demon-possessed monster.
Demon Fuge or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So this is the first time that she has been treated as an actual member of the Order since gaining her powers, which means that, technically speaking, we have another living saint on the Nihilist side, rather than just Celestine kicking around randomly, which is quite a force to be reckoned with, to be fair, especially because she now has the support of the Sisters of Battle. Yeah.
So, like, we've got a number of Imperial Saints, haven't we? Like
There's
these,
a lot of them.
Yeah, but I mean, like, these ones which are similar to Celestine, which have got which are like avatars of the Emperor. Which are like focuses to his psychic power, which cannot die, which have got like wings and halos and something like that. But Celestine is the only one which has got an active role, right? Like, I think there are some more, but they do not. We do not know if they have got like an active part in modern 40k, right?
Yes, but that's why this part is important, because now Ephrael Stern is the second in that position. She has an active position, and she is now considered a saint.
But has she got also because I'm not that aware of her, so of course I've heard of her as the heretic saint, but I haven't read the story of it, and so it's kind of that you have to inform me about it, and I can ask questions, because I'm interested. She hasn't got the same powers as Celestine, right? So Celestine is immortal, so if she dies, she can reawaken.
Yeah, she reincarnates in new bodies and stuff.
Exactly as that. But that's not something which happened to Ephraim Stern, right? She hasn't died till now.
No, she doesn't die, no. I believe that the original origin for her is that she was possessed by a demon and gained her powers that way, which is why everyone thinks that she's a heretic. But in the modern day, it seems like she's also gained some emperor powers. So her powers are fairly demonic in nature, but she is entirely in control of their power. Which is interesting, because it means that you've got this, like, saintly sister of battle running around throwing demon fire and lightning bolts and stuff.
Yeah. And it would be also to match up in Imperium Nihilus, because the thing is, Imperium Sanctum sounds safer than it actually is. Like, we have got also that many threats there, but at some point during the Indomitus Crusade, Gilliman proclaims that it is safe enough that he has to enter Imperium Nihilus, because like for 14 years standard time, or his standard time, he is cruising through Imperium Sanctum to make it safe again, and of course during that time he wasn't in Imperium Nihilus to make that also happen. And of the both halves which we have got of the Imperium Nihilus is by far the more dangerous one, because
absolutely.
It enters through all the crazy fringes to Xenos invasions and so on, and it's rather less populated than Imperium Sanctum. So I think
also you can't use the warp to travel in Nihilus.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah?
Yeah, the rift blocks the light of the Astronomicon, so none of the good guys on Nihilus side can use the warp to travel without basically guaranteeing they get ransacked by demons in the warp. And they have no idea where they would come out anyway, so they can only use like tiny warp jumps to try and like skip a couple of days off a journey. But they can't like do whole segmentum journeys or anything like that properly. So you can't even organize a defense correctly.
Yeah. So that is why it's really important. Like I do know that there are some portions of Imperial might in Imperium Nihilus. Like we've got, you mentioned, is Celestine still in Imperium Nihilus? Like she accompanied the Terran Crusade to some extent to which reached Terra in its final state.
Yes.
But I do not know what happened afterwards with her.
I know she's still doing stuff, but I think she's off on like her own crusade, leading a section of the Sisters of Battle. I don't think she's still with Gilliman, so I don't know that she ever went to Nihilus.
Okay, because then we have got Dante with the Blood Angels and his successor chapters of the Blood, which are doing stuff in Nihilus. We have got, of course, the Lion, which has reawakened and is doing his role as protector of the Imperium now. We've got the Dark Angels, and also we've got the Heretic Saint. Like, these are some ones to do some stuff.
Yeah, people that can actually, fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is some things at least.
Yeah, because I believe that after the events of the newest Ephraim Stern novel, where she actually is accepted as a saint by her order, I believe it ends with her going to the Pariah Nexus as it is activated.
Okay.
So So she and her order are within the Pariah Nexus, last we checked. So it seems like there's going to be a battle against the Necrons, led, at least partially, by the Heretic Saint, which is going to be interesting, because she won't be the Heretic Saint anymore, because she won't have her powers.
But isn't the Pariah Nexus in Imperium Sanctum?
I don't know for sure. I
Okay.
don't know off the top of my head what area it is in, but through the course of the book, there's a whole thing where she keeps having these dreams about some, like, emptiness, some force of like hollowness coming for them.
Yeah.
And the book ends with them getting into an area of space, and then it's the Pariah Nexus, but it's as it activates, so she suddenly feels this, like, stripping of her powers, this disconnection from the warp. So
Yeah. Because
I don't know exactly where it is, but they end up there.
I think that there's maybe some part of the prediction which I can come about, because at the start of the Indomitus Crusade books, like Dawn of Fire series, Avenging Sun was the first one, which was rather more about Gilliman and the things he does at the beginning, like the Primaris Marines were presented and so on and so on. But we've got also like a tiny side story, which is like at the start of the book and at the end of the book, where it is confirmed that there is the Pariah Nexus near the Imperium, and that it's a grave threat, but it isn't identified to that point as that grave threat which it presents. Later, during not the series, but we have got the book Indomitus by Garth Thorpe, which is all about Ultramarine Task Force facing for the first time Necrons and also the Pariah Nexus. Like, we've got this soul deadening where they've got like these Nexus established, which robs all of the humans of their soul or warp side of their nature. So they get just into a mindless kind of state where they cannot do anything at all, just move around but can have no actual thoughts or something like that. And the Ultramarines are kind of resistant or less affected by it, because I think they are, one explanation may be that they are like have got this tiny bit of source material of the Emperor and the Primarchs, right? And it would be interesting, because now comes the prediction. I think I've heard that the Indomitus books, at least the first series, because we already know that it's going to be 9 books, and right now we have 7 books.
At least 9.
Yeah, I think it was that the Dawn of Fire series should end with 9 books. Like, maybe there's a follow-up series which is coming about, something like that.
I just feel that they're going to keep going and going with it, even though no one's into it.
I think they are going to do something like for Imperium Nihilus at some point then, which would be more interesting also. And I think the series will end, or I've heard the prediction that Gilliman is going to face the Pariah Nexus and the Silent King.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and that happens before, like the Dawn of Fire series is about the 14-year campaign of the Indomitus Crusade before it enters Imperium Nihilus. So we have got, at this point, we have got the Indomitus Crusade, which is covered during the Dawn of Fire series books, which aren't finished, right? Because we have 2 big books missing. But at the same time, we've got this ongoing active series, like with Belisarius Core, like The Great Work, and Genefather, which was released recently, which already covers like the point after that, right before they enter Imperium Nihilus, but after the events of the Dawn of Fire series. So that's a bit crazy.
That's a bit weird. As far as predictions go, I actually think that you know how they did a Flesh Tearers novel that took place after Devastation and Battle?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be more Flesh Tearers novels, and I think that one of them will be Flesh Tearers fighting Necrons in the Pariah Nexus,
Why so? Why you think so?
because the Flesh Tearers' entire thing is being like on this knife edge of falling into the Black Rage, right?
Yes.
But you can't fall to the Black Rage in the Pariah Nexus.
Because it's blocking the warp effects, the psychic effects, and so on and so on.
So I think that it would be a cool thing for them to explore that concept, but also it would make the Blood Angels and all their successors like the most dangerous chapters to fight within that area, because they could all go as mad as they wanted without ever actually falling to the rage. You know what I mean? It takes away the downside to their curse, I guess.
During that part, I just remembered that during the devastation of Baal, where the High Fleet of the Leviathan battled the Blood Angels and their successor chapters, that it was a major point which made a difference, was the birth of the Great Rift, because it destroyed to some extent the psychic nexus of the hive mind, right?
Yeah.
Which confused the Tyranids, so they did not have an organizing structure for some time during the siege of Baal, and which gave the Blood Angels like an opportunity to strike back, because they were already mangled bad at that point. And I think it's interesting, like if the we haven't got that much stories between two antagonizing Xenos factions. Like we haven't got a book. I at least correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot imagine it. Like a book where orcs fight Tyranids. Like that's the whole point of the book.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. No. Although I'm expecting a Tyranids versus Necron book at some point.
Yeah, because I think the Necrons with the Pariah Nexus are the best weapon against the Tyranids. Like if they can block the psychic Necrod, which the hive mind obviously has got, it would be really efficient against them.
Yeah, well, isn't there the whole thing that the whole reason that the Silent King came back in the first place is because of the Tyranids?
Oh, I do not know that.
So obviously there's this whole thing where after everything that happened with the War in Heaven, the Silent King realized that they had destroyed the galaxy. So it was not like their time to rule. It was not their place.
Yeah.
They owed it to the galaxy to give them back their own position, basically. So he basically accepts that it's the Eldar's time to rule, but they will return once the galaxy has been rebuilt. So he has everyone go into the stasis crypts in all the crypt worlds. But as punishment to himself for what he had done to his people, he basically put himself in exile and tried to go to another galaxy. But that obviously takes like millions upon millions of years. So he got like halfway to another galaxy and then came back because of some threat beyond. And the only thing we know that's came from another galaxy, which is a major threat, are the Tyranids. So it's fair to say that he recognized the threat of the Tyranids and came back because he knew that the only people who stood a chance of actually fighting them are the Necrons, since they are not biological beings anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. I think like a large part of his actual plan is to, I guess, pay back the damage they did to the galaxy by saving it from the Tyranids.
Okay, yeah. It sounds logic.
Yeah. Well, they are kind of designed perfectly to kill the space bugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're like the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, like they're like the perfect guys for this particular job.
With their Gauss weapons and green rays and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have Trazan teaming up with Call at some point
Yeah, definitely.
to sort out like the pillar so they can fix the Great Rift to some degree. I think it's
mean,
gonna be Trazan that gives him the secret to that.
Because they already work really good together during the 13th Black Crusade on Cadia.
Yeah, yeah,
Like-
those two get along quite well.
Yeah. They have
Worryingly
like
well.
kind of the same mindset. Like they're both arrogant and ironic and so on and so on. I haven't read
Yeah.
the book where Trazyn has got his like enemy, also Necron.
Oh,
It's
what is it
called
called?
the Infinite and the Divine, I think.
Yes, aye, that is absolutely a wonderful book.
Yeah.
They end up, the two of them end up at this like this play or musical or something.
Okay.
It's just a silly thing, but there's just a really fun joke in it when they get to that stage.
Because
but
I've heard
read it
about
in your
it.
own time.
Yeah, that it's like the most comical book regarding Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and I look forward to it. Because the same author also has now written The Fall of Cadia, so I've already got some expectation regarding his Trazyn.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what do you think of the fact that Trazyn has Creed? Do you think that'll ever come to anything?
Well, he originally wanted Abaddon. Like in the Fall of Cadia, in the book, it's more explained in detail than I think it is in the related campaign codex, which was the original source material for the 13th Black Crusade, Fall of Cadia, and so on and so on. And he realized that he could not get his grip onto Abaddon. And then decided that Belisarius Call would also be a worthwhile an Enfreed Force collection, but Call could convince him that if he wants a standout piece for the events connected to the Fall of Cadia and so on, he should collect Creed, because Creed is like the symbol for Cadia and all its defense against chaos and so on. And Trazyn was convinced by this argument and collected him. And Creed at this point had lost his flag sergeant, which was Krell or Kel or something like that he's called. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like his best friend.
Yeah, which he has gone through hell and back with him, and which was impaled by the... Is it called... It's still called the Emperor's Claw, right? Of Abaddon, which he got from Horus.
Isn't it the Talon of Horus?
Yeah, the Talon of Horus. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he like gives his life to push Creed onto like an escape shuttle, doesn't he?
exactly. And Creed just realizes and also tells that much, that he is just he's broken down. So he realizes that if he's going to die on Cadia. And he also wishes to do so, because he knows when he survives that whole catastrophe that he's done for, because if someone is going to take the blame to what happened on Cadia, it's going to be him. And he has like done everything he could do in to save Cadia, and it hasn't been successful.
It wasn't enough.
Yeah, it hasn't not been enough. So I think it's good that Trazyn actually collected him for his own sake, if you would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still like a famous general and has got crazy potential, but it's interesting, 'cause I think it's a neat closure for the whole arc surrounding Creed and the Fall of Cadia.
I honestly hope that he does it like we don't see him again. I hope that's the end of Creed,
Yes,
to be honest with you.
me too.
Yeah, although they've kept the whole Cadia thing going, because now we've got new Cadia being founded, and they started recruiting Cadian White Shields again, after Cadia fell, when there was no Cadia and stuff like that. So we're obviously not getting rid of Cadia anytime soon.
Yes. Yeah. Which is also great, but because the Cadian forces, the shock troops are still like elite forces in the Imperium, so it's kind of nice that the faction still exists. But I think Games Workshop really loved or does love to have like all options to every point still available. So that for them, like to expunge a Space Marine chapter or to expunge an Imperial Guard faction, it's something which they do not do that often, or
they won't, because they would make less money if they did.
Yeah, exactly.
They've already made the models; they're gonna keep selling them, you know.
I think it's interestingly enough that they let or what was its name? The famous Imperial figure of the second and third war for Armageddon. Yarek. Commissioner Yarek. I think he died because of old age.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting enough. But then again, like we can see with Creed, they already have got a second option for it. Like Ursula Creed, his daughter, is like it's like you've got Creed. Okay, we cannot use him anymore. Like okay, now we have got a new Creed. So it's like she also she's like the female Creed.
Nah, she hates him, and she's like, have you read Creed, the new novel about her?
Nope.
It's surprisingly good. There's a love story in it, and everything is great. Yeah, I know it's really
okay.
But like a huge part of it is just about how much she fucking hated her dad.
Well, to be honest, I could imagine that quite well, because I do not could think of Creed as a great father figure. Because of all his bad habits,
point.
like he's like smoking all the time, he's drinking, he hasn't got that much sleep, he puts all his effort into the army. I cannot think that he is like that much of a lovable father who spends his time with his daughter.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole plot of her character, is just daddy issues. Which is fair, I guess.
At the start, you said you have got 2 events. Like that was you started with Everest 10. Which is the second one?
The new Chaos God, Vashtor. I feel like we're gonna see so I think that he is going to become the god for the Dark Mechanicum.
Yes.
And I think there's a possibility that Perturabo becomes his Demon Primarch. Because at the moment, Perturabo is a Demon Primarch of Chaos Undivided.
Exactly.
And I think that this guy would be a good fit for him.
Yeah.
I feel like Vashtor is like the right fit for him. So I think maybe we might see Perturabo's return as a major character in the form of Vashtor's storyline.
Yeah. So just to get a round up, we have got like Vashtor the Archifane is like an important. He's like a half demon, half, I don't know, Dark Mechanicum acolyte or something like that.
Well, something like that, I guess. It's kind of just a half machine, half demon god.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a figure which was presented during the Arcs of Ohm campaign. He got in contact with Abaddon and said like, I've got an interesting solution to your problems to get the Imperium down for good. And Abaddon said, well, okay, show it to me. And the whole point about the Arcs of Ohm campaign is that there's a weapon of crazy proportions which can do crazy stuff, and Abaddon wants to get his hands on it, and Vashtor is the one who can present him with the means to do so, and they have to collect certain elements of a key, and these elements are the ones which are where the Arcs of Ohm are going for, so that the traitors can get their hands on these elements. And during the last campaign book, they are able to complete all the elements and to create this key, and then escape before the task force of the Imperium Might, which is combined of the Lion, Ezrael, Dark Angels forces, Blood Angels forces, Dante, and so on and so on. And so now I think the next big thing which is going to happen is that Abaddon and Vashtor are going to open the vault or whatever they need the key for to get their hands on this weapon. And Vashtor claims that he wants to ascend to a demon god, so he's already like half demon, half
because he is
machine.
technically only like demigod at this point, isn't he? He's not like
Exactly.
a full chaos god in the pantheon.
Like he could be compared to like a demon prince or like a demon primarch. And to about your point that we know that Perthrebu is also a demon prince, demon primarch, but like you said, he's a follower of Chaos Undivided, so he hasn't committed himself to one chaos one chaos god, but he said, no, I'm going to go to general chaos altogether.
It's kind of a concept. It's like all of it.
It's either this solution which you presented us, that he's going to be like if Vashtor should succeed in becoming a fifth demon god, then it's either that Perthrebu is going to become his acolyte, so his committed demon primarch, or it's the other way around, not that Perthrebu is going to become a demon god, but that he despises Vashtor because machines and Vashtor is like nowadays the lord of the soul forges, like where all of the demonic machines are going to be constructed, like Lord of Skulls and whatever they are called. And I can also think that Perthrebu is like he wants to be like the one who is connected to all of like tech heresy and so on and so on.
Yeah, like this is the Arsenal trying to steal my job.
Yeah, exactly. So that Vashtor is the one which Perthrebu hates, which he wants to
also possible
eliminate. So maybe
that could be good though. You'd end up with this like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing.
I also
you could end up with Perthrebu playing for the good guys again for a bit.
Yeah, I also just thought in that instant that it could be a nice prediction that Perthrebu is going to get an active role because he's going to combat Abaddon and Vashtor.
That would be quite cool because I feel like Perthrebu is the kind of guy that we need for that situation, because this is like. It's meant to be this unnamed ultimate weapon thing, right? And I feel like if you're going to defend against some unknown ultimate weapon, you need someone who is amazing at building defenses. And I think Perthrebu or Dorn are your guys. And I feel like Perthrebu's the one we've got more chance of finding.
But I would not go so far that you said, like, you're an enemy of my enemies, my friends, that Perthrebu was going to be an ally of the Imperium because...
I don't think he's going to like actively become an ally, but like...
I think it's like he's like a third party.
Beneficial to the good guys.
Exactly, like he's like a third party faction. And in my prediction, Vashtor isn't going to succeed because it would be too much of a great thing to happen in Warhammer 40K to actually... Like, we've got a reawakening of Primarchs nowadays, but that is not as big of a fact as to get the fifth Chaos God. Right? At least in my opinion.
I think that bringing in a fifth Chaos God doesn't necessarily add very much, right? Because if he's a newborn god, it doesn't give him the same power as all the others. It just puts him in a similar standing. So it would still take time for him to, like, through worship, to gain power, to be able to do the similar things to the rest of them. all it would really do is justify him having acolytes, like the Dark Mechanicum worshipping him.
Yeah, but
Only
also,
really makes sense if he becomes a full god. You know?
I think like the gods which we already have got, they also represent like the sins of humanity. Like Khorne is like for bloodlust, murderous intent, and so on and so on. Siege is like for the quest for knowledge, to get wisdom.
Scheming.
Exactly, scheming. Slaanesh is like for the pleasure of getting happy. Exactly, and so on and so on. And Nurgle is just for like being ill.
Yeah.
So Vashtor isn't like that. If he gets to be a fifth Chaos God, like what traits should he represent?
Oh, Vashtor is engineering and innovation, or invention and innovation.
But
It's
that you could,
humanity's constant drive for progression is the problem there.
but couldn't you also connect these traits to Siege?
No, Zinch isn't technically anything to do with the quest for knowledge. Zinch is a subterfuge, kind of underhanded tactics, and the god of magic. But
Yeah, okay.
knowledge and innovation are not technically the same thing. So obviously, like, humanity is often summed up by philosophers and stuff as having two things that they cannot avoid. It is the need for survival and the need for progression. And I think that Vashtor is designed for this, like, need for progression as, like, what that makes him. So it's said that he, or I believe, originally I guess the demon that started gaining power in this way was born during the Dark Age of Technology. That's when Vashtor first kind of came into being. Because humanity and stuff made so many ridiculous advancements so quickly.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's the ideal behind him as a god, I guess.
Yes.
That's the role he fills in the area. But a lot of the gods are like, they're not based on things that humanity does necessarily, as much as just things that are part of the human condition. Just the fact that there is humanity means these things will occur. The fact that there is humanity means people will get sick and people will die. It also means some people will not control their desires and will fall too far into them. It also means that people will want for power and will be underhanded and will, sacrifice others' well-being to gain that power. And it also means people will be aggressive and violent and, again, fight for power. But I guess the fifth part of this nowadays would be just the fact that there are humans means that humans are going to try and advance themselves. They're going to try and progress their civilization and stuff. And I suppose that's where Vashtor comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, I get
Which is
your
why
point.
I think he fits well with Rabble. But like you're saying, he just as easily could be an enemy for all the same reasons that he could be an ally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last point I would make to it, that it could also be distressing to the balance of the chaos gods. Like, we have got the four gods and each one acts to a counterpoint to one of the others. Like, we have got Khorne cannot work with each, Slaanesh cannot work with Nurgle, and so on and so on. So so these are the combinations, they aren't anymore. So a fifth god could be distressing to that balance which they have got. And also, I think it's interestingly enough, when I think about it, that Abaddon is not a fan of chaos itself. Like, he uses it like as a tool. But like what he says during the Siege of Terror also applies for to his nature nowadays. He's like the chosen of chaos, but he isn't that great fan, that much of a great fan of chaos itself, because he knows already what it can do to his allies, and has seen it in active service to do so. Like, he has seen the demon primarchs and acknowledged that they are not masters of their self-interest anymore, but rather slaves to their chaotic god. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Abaddon still supports Vestor in his aim to become a chaos god, but it could also be because of this fact that he supports him, because he wants also to put the stress on the chaos gods in their balance, to make them weaker altogether.
Yeah, like he's just using him as an means to a mean kind of hang, or means to an end, sorry. Yeah, that's very possible, yeah. Right, we have been at this for like 2 hours now, so I think I'm gonna need to round it out for today, and I think this is a conversation we should continue next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sound good to you?
Yeah, I'm on the same page.
Ideal. I look forward to it. But thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time. Goodbye.